Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today. A couple different ways you could do that. We are live every day from 3 to 4 Pacific Daylight Time on KDOW 1220 AM. We're also going to be doing this live streaming. If we could get this stuff to work from time to time, it's a little finicky. So the goal is every day to be streaming live on live social media and get that going as well. So that way. And the other thing is we realize that not everybody is eligible, or not say eligible, but available during the time of 3 to 4. So for those people, we have the podcast. We've been doing that for several years. So this live radio, with the content that we talk about today, will become the podcast every day. So be sure to download the podcast, follow us. You could do that by going to iTunes and typing in Real Estate Radio Live. That's Real Estate Radio Live. If you just type that in, it'll come up. Download the podcast, follow us, get some great feedback. We do it on a regular basis. It's growing tremendously, the podcast. Getting a lot of wonderful calls and emails. Just today, received a call from a gentleman in the Santa Barbara area looking for financing and looking to purchase a place in that area. And it's just great to see this work. And what I mean is great to see this work. It's great to see the communication and the ability to get this real estate, this information that we're helping people with. It's great to get that in the hands of people all over the place, not just in the Bay Area, but now we're starting to expand in all other areas of California. The podcast is downloaded internationally and continuing to grow as well. There's a lot of interest, I believe, because it's the Silicon Valley. It is a crazy, interesting real estate market. It's venture capital of the world, all kinds of great things going on here. And there's a lot of reasons why people tune in. But we would like to think also that almost after nearly 8 years of doing the radio show and podcasting, that what we'll continue to do is continue to add value to you, the listeners, and the consumers, to educate you to make more better, wise decisions in and around your real estate. That's really the goal. And everybody I talked to, the gentleman today that called me from Santa Barbara, spoke with him, and the first thing he said, which is that most people say, love the show, and I'll, what do you love about it? What do you like about it? What are things we could change? It's good to talk to the consumers who have done for almost 8 years. And most of the time, it's the same what they say, which really makes me feel good. And that is, I love the show because I learned something, and you have great guests, and it's just good to continue to be educated. And that's the reason I started this show almost 8 years ago, is for that reason. So it's great to hear. Keep the feedback coming. There's a couple of different ways to communicate. So during the live show, you could reach us at 1-800-516-1220. So 3 to 4 Pacific Daylight Time. Give us a call. Check in. Love to hear from you on the phone. If you want to call us, 1-800-516-1220 during the show. And if you have any questions about real estate, anything at all, real estate, national real estate, what's going on, we could discuss. We can talk about that. The topic today, speaking of that, is going to be understanding who and what to trust with online real estate and lending. So again, the topic today is going to be understanding who and what to trust when it comes to online real estate and lending. So I'm going to cover that topic for you today. Before we get started, just a reminder, you're listening to this via podcast, which thousands of you do. You could reach me at 408-838-9060. You could either text or call. And any time at all, you could email Joe at reradiolive.com or go to our website, and that is reradiolive.com, reradiolive. Okay, the topic today, again, is understanding who and what to trust with online real estate and lending transactions. So most of you know that this is becoming predominantly growing rapidly. I've shared with you over the next couple of months, we're going to have some extensive interviews with companies that are not only startup real estate companies that are doing mostly online model, but then venture capitals or people that are investing in the very same companies and their belief of why the model's changing. Because of this, the last 7 or 8 years, I continually do research in this area as well. So I have, over the last 8 years, to give you a sense of what's going on, I have interviewed over nearly 1,300 people. I have had the benefit and the advantage of getting emails, phone calls, interactions with, well over 2,000 consumers over that same time period. So I've gathered a lot of information and data of my own, including the independent research that's out there. So what's exciting about what I could offer you, the consumer, today and then going forward for the future, is that this information is real, it's timely, and it's accurate. And what I mean by that is we're going to provide this to you for a reason. The reason why is that we educate you, the consumer, and help you make better decisions with your real estate. You've heard me say this before. I'll continue to say it. Our goal is not to, most of you out there don't want to be experts. Most of us don't want to be experts in things that we don't do for our occupation or business. I mean, my primary business is residential lending, and I do this radio show and I do the podcast. And so I immerse myself and educate myself in that area, in this area. If I'm going to buy a car or something else, I'll educate myself to a certain extent, but I also will rely on experts or people that I trust to give me feedback and information, because I'm not an expert on cars. I'm not an expert in other things. So the same with this real estate. What we really hope to do, ladies and gentlemen, is educate you so that you make better decisions. And what I mean by that is to be specific and be more clear, is that when you get to a point where you decide, okay, I'm going to buy a house, I want to sell my house, I need to finance a home, I need some legal advice, I need some tax advice. Those are things that you could contact us for. Those are things that if you don't have someone you trust, contact us. And I'll say that. I'll continue to say it. We're a great resource for the Bay Area and then some, primarily in Bay Area, of course, in California. But I have a great network of professionals that work around me that I refer and that I would trust to recommend any type of business when it comes to real estate. That includes real estate agents. That includes tax, if you need some CPA, some tax advice, legal advice on real estate. Maybe you need a contractor, landscaper, all those types of things. We're here to help you with those. So along with the education, here's the exciting part. Let me dive into understanding who you can and can't trust in online real estate and lending practices. So along the last 7 or 8 plus years, 10 years, there's come along Zillow, Trulia, and the rest of these. There's a whole slew of different online programs, websites, if you will, models that allow you, the consumer, to go online and get a lot of information and educate yourself and really arm yourself with a lot of data, which is great. So the way I'm going to start is I'm going to throw some statistics out to you as well. So roughly 95% of people start their search online when it comes to real estate. Most of us know that. You're going to hear that a lot. So where I think some people are misled or what we forget, and a lot of people, I think when they hear that number, and automatically what they hear is like, oh my God, Joe, 95% of people make their decision on real estate lending online. No, that's not what that means. 95% of people start their search and education in fact-finding, data collecting online. 95% of people start that way, okay? Now, when it comes to choosing someone, when they're ready to make a decision on real estate or lending, guess what? Nearly 9 out of 10 people then choose a professional or someone they trust or a qualified expert to help them make those decisions. This is the distinctive difference. This is the difference you need to really understand, and I want to talk about today. And I'm going to walk you through some of the things you want to be careful about. There's some landmines out there that you really want to avoid on the real estate side and lending side and some red flags that I'm going to talk about to be careful of. So again, just to summarize before we take our first break, 95% of people roughly start their search, their education, their data collection online. However, when they come to the decision or they make the decision to finally pull the trigger on buying a house, selling a home, or financing a property, guess what? Then they seek a professional. Then they seek someone that could help them that's an expert in that area. So that's nearly 9 out of 10 people. So I want to make sure I'm clear on this, and I want to make sure the message is coming across, because I think the perception out there is, oh my God, everything has gone online, and we're not going to need human beings anymore, and there's going to be robots, and there's going to be all these things taking over these industries. And it's not necessarily the case. Now, there is a lot of advancements taking place, and I'll continue to talk about those, and I'll give you some suggestions on the ones that are working and not working. But overall, that's not what it means, and so I'm going to clarify that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and I'm going to continue talking about understanding who and what you could trust when it comes to online real estate and lending. If you want to check in, if you want to give me a call, you could do that live during the show, 1-800-516-1220. That's 1-800-516-1220. You can give me a call during the show. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're going to talk again today about understanding who and what to trust when doing business online, real estate, and lending. All right, I'll be back with you to continue in just a couple minutes. Again, if you want to get your calls on the line, we have a couple of texts here, 1-800-516-1220. I'll be back with you in a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Hi, this is Joe Kuchera of Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We are your go-to resource for all aspects of real estate, including buying, selling, refinancing, building, and legal and tax advice, and much more. You can subscribe to Real Estate Radio Live podcast on iTunes and Stitcher to listen to an engaging discussion about anything and everything real estate. So make sure you get our app, RE Radio Live, in the iTunes store to follow the show.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're with you 5 days a week. 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Show is live on KDOW 1220 a.m. So that's where you could listen to it live on the radio. You could also listen to it streaming live. If you go to online to KDOW.biz, you could listen to the show and anywhere. So it doesn't matter where you are during this time period. The United States or wherever you are, if you go online, you can listen to it live. If you go to KDOW.biz and click on the show, click on live, listen live. You can listen that way anywhere you are, as long as this is during this time period from 3 to 4 Pacific Daylight Time. We are going to be streaming live social media online here shortly. In the next couple of days, we're having some problems with that, but we will get that fixed and be offering that to interact and to get more information to those that want to interact that way that can't listen to the show. And then lastly, we really give you all kinds of different options to listen to the show. And quite frankly, the fastest growing segment of this business is podcasting, and that continues to grow rapidly. So I want to thank you all out there that are downloading the podcast, listening to them, sharing them, posting reviews, sharing them with your friends, family, coworkers. I appreciate that very much. We continue to get a lot of feedback from the podcasts as well. During the show, if you want to give me a call, if you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220. That's 1-800-516-1220. If you want to get your calls on the air, that's the number to use. If you're listening to this via podcast, you can reach me, 408-838-9060. The topic today is understanding who and what to trust with online real estate and lending. I jumped in and kind of gave an overview on the first segment of the real estate side. I'll focus more on the real estate side on this segment And then the last two segments, I'll focus more on the lending side. I might roll over into the third segment, the real estate, because it's a little more involved, and then finish off with lending. So, as I mentioned, the majority of people start their search online, their data collection information. So what I want to make sure people understand is just because you hear that 95% number doesn't mean 95% of people then choose someone to work from online and don't interact with any people. That's not the case. So the next thing I want you to be careful with, when you're on one of these websites and you're doing your research, and so here's what happens. Most of you may or may not know this, but let me share with you what the data tells us, and this is third-party, totally objective research and data. Okay? We're a much more educated society, most of us are. Again, we go online, we have a lot of information at our fingertips. But here's still what the data shows us, but nearly 70+%, 72 to 73% of people still, with all the education information they have on real estate, still feel insecure in making these decisions unless they're teamed up with a professional real estate agent or some side. So those are the things to keep in mind, and these are real. These are things that could change, and they probably will change over the next several years, but right now that's where they are. So the thing I want you to be careful with when you're on some of these websites, and let's say you're doing some of your research and you're looking at certain zip codes for a house. Let's say you're looking to buy a house or even put your home on the market. Understand that a lot of these websites, sometimes I'll use the name, sometimes I won't, just because I know they don't need the additional advertising. But most of what drives the revenue on these sites is the advertising, and depending on who's willing to pay the most amount of money to be positioned on these websites in certain zip codes or areas. I'll give you an example. If you're on one of these websites looking for information, and every time you sign on or you say, hey, I'm looking to sell my house in Los Gatos, California, or Willow Glen, or Saratoga, and you notice when you type that information in, up comes some information on that neighborhood or that area. And you'll also notice that somewhere adjacent to that, to the right or to the left or below, depending on the website, you will see a couple different real estate agents and lenders maybe. And they'll be forward and present right in front of you. And so the perception is, oh my gosh, these must be the top agents, or these must be the people that are most qualified, or these must be the people that I should use. Wrong, wrong, and wrong. So you have to be careful with this. This is the part that I want you to be careful about when I say the understanding who and what to trust in online. So just because someone is present with their picture and information on that page when you're searching a certain area does not mean they're an expert in that area. It could mean that, but it may not mean that. It could be that they just paid enough money to have their placement there, and so they've paid the piper. Here's my money. I'm going to pay the most money to have my face present when someone pulls up information on Los Gatos or Saratoga or whatever. This is the way this game works, and this is the part that I want you to be careful about, because it's deceptive marketing. And there's some fine print somewhere, believe me, that you could get to that'll say, we're not suggesting this person's the best person for you, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? We're all used to that, all the fine print after the misleading advertising that happens on TV, online, everywhere. So be careful with that. Now, sometimes their pictures and information are front and center because they have spent a lot of money and time and energy, to their credit, maybe getting the most reviews. So a lot of people will say, in order to play the game with Zillow, Yelp, and all these others, right? A lot of people will say, in order to play the game, if you want to get into the game, you got to get the most reviews possible. Most people will say you need at least 100+ reviews to show up on the top page or have a presence there on some of those. So, how do you get reviews? Some people might say, well, easy. After I close a transaction, I ask the customer to give me a review. They gave me a 5-point review, and there we go. It's not always that easy. Not a lot of people will give you reviews. So guess what some people do? Some people will pay for reviews. Some people will incent people to do reviews. Some people will market to get reviews. Some people, and again, I'm not suggesting that this is illegal. What I'm suggesting, what I'm reminding all of you is that don't be fooled or don't think just because someone's picture and information is on the front page of one of these websites that they are the number one agent or the most qualified agent or the agent that you should best be working with. They're just not. It's not always the case. Let's say, for instance, the person is in the top 10 or 15%, right? Let's just give them the credit. Let's say that person that shows up is the top 10 or 15% in that market. That's great. It's great. That doesn't mean it's the right person for you. All it means is that person decided to pay or focus on a certain zip code, and they're showing up in that area to get reviews or to pay to get that information. So you have to be very careful with this. And this is the part that I want you to really steer away from with the online part. I like the idea of you, the consumer, educating yourself and gathering data online. I love that idea. Where I caution you and I say, be careful before you pull the trigger. Don't automatically call or assume one of these agents just because on that front page is going to be the best one for you. There's no harm in interviewing them. There's no harm in contacting them. But there's a different way. There's a different way to do that. And some things are just that I want those to be very, very careful about when they're searching online. And this is specific to real estate. I'm going to take a break here in about 30 seconds. When we come back, then I'm going to jump in. I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to finish up the real estate side and then get on the lending side. I'm going to cover a little bit more of the things, the red flags, things to watch out for, things to be careful for trust when doing business online. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. If you want to get your calls on the line, if you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220. You could text 408-838-9060. Looks like we have a couple of texts. I'll read those when I get back. I'll be back with you in a couple minutes.
RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining me this afternoon, spending some time. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4. And after the live show, you could always catch the podcast. We realize not everybody has the benefit or the luxury of listening to it during this time period, so that's why we have the podcast. It's growing so dramatically, which is great, exciting to see. You could download the podcast at iTunes. Go to iTunes and type in RE Radio Live or Real Estate Radio Live, probably is the best thing. Download the podcast, or you can go to our website, RERadiolive.com. If you want to contact me or if you have a question during the show, it's 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. The topic today is understanding who and what to trust when it comes to online real estate and lending. The first two segments I focus mostly on the real estate side, what to think to really be careful of, and I'll finish up with the real estate on this segment, and then I'll start with the lending and then wrap up with lending on the last segment. The last thing I'll say about the online real estate piece is, and I'll talk about this on the lending side too, that the thing that to me that's the most frustrating I'm probably voicing the concerns of the consumer as well, is you don't know when you enter your information, is you don't know who and what's happening to that data. And we have enough problems out there, quite frankly, with the protection of our personal information and data. But here's the problem that I don't know. It's a tough one to solve, and I'll tell you. If you go to Amazon.com or something, or even actually if you go to Walmart, or you notice if you go to order, let's say a tea time and stuff, because I do that with golf, right? So if you're on Golf Now, I'll give you an example, and you go to pay for your tea time, and up comes Amazon and says, would you like to pay on your Amazon account? Well, a lot of times you'll click on yes because you already have established account, you have the Prime and all that stuff, and you just think, okay, it's easier, I trust Amazon, I have my stuff there, right? So you know, or you have an idea, this is what's going on. It's full disclosure. This is what's happening. When you click on here, you're going to pay through Amazon service, and you know that. Here's the problem with a lot of these websites that you want to be careful. I'd say stay away from it. If you're on Zillow or Redfin or any of these other ones, here's the problem with most of these websites. You enter basic information in, okay? Let's just say you're looking to buy a house, sell a house. We'll talk about lending in a couple of minutes. You enter that information, you don't know who that's going to. See, the assumption is it's Zillow, but that's not true. Zillow could be selling that lead. And there's some disclosures somewhere on that website that'll share this with you if you're willing to get a magnifying glass and look at it for the next 12 hours and read all the stuff. But seriously, be careful, because when you enter your information, you think, oh, this is great. Yeah, I'd like to see if someone can help me sell my house or buy a house. And next thing you know, you get contacted by 5, 6, 7, 20, 30 different people. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute. So you're a little confused. This is what happens to people because some of us are naive or we're honest, or we're thinking we want to trust. And so we're thinking if we're on Zillow or Redfin, we're getting called from an employee or someone that works for or someone representative of that company. No, you're not. Most times what's happening is that information is your lead. So your lead is worth money to a lot of people out there in the marketplace. And they sell your lead, your information, to the highest bidder. That's what happens. So we'll talk about this on the lending side too. It's worse on the lending side. I really think it is. We have to be really, really careful. So as I close out on the real estate piece, my recommendation is this. Do your research online. There's a lot of great information out there. Educate yourself. Get as much data as you can. But please don't trust the websites when it comes to choosing a real estate agent or a lender. Just don't do it. If you see someone on there that you trust, you've used before, then that's fine. This is my personal opinion, and I'll share with you more in the next couple of months. There's going to be some new programs out that are going to be a lot better, and they're going to be able to trust and do more business with. And I think you're going to be surprised of some of the exciting things coming down the pike for the consumer. My opinion is, unless you see someone on that site that you're familiar with or you know, I would be hesitant. It doesn't mean they're not good real estate agents. It simply means they could be paying their way to the top. They could be paying their way to the front page or the top pages, and you don't want to choose someone if you think they're for the right reasons. Okay, so just be real careful of that. All right. Get your education, get your information, but then for me, I would say go with someone you trust, go with someone you used before if you haven't used for someone. Or let's say this, ladies and gentlemen, the world is changing in real estate. It really is. Even if you've used someone in the past, you don't know if they're doing right by you. You don't. In a market like this, when a house flies off the market, you don't know if that's the right agent. How do you know you're really getting the value? So reach out. You deserve it. You're the consumer. You hear me say it all the time. It's your money. How do you want to spend it? All right, let's jump on the lending side because we have about a segment and a half to cover this. So on lending, it's much of the same. I would advocate that go online, do your research, find out what's going on in the marketplace, and be really, really careful because this is the lending side, online lending stuff is a lot more volatile and explosive in a bad way than the real estate side is. And here's the reason why, is because there's so many moving pieces and there's so many lenders out there and there's so many sub-lenders and brokers of brokers and people that you don't even know that exist and companies on the East Coast and West Coast and international. It's just nuts. Do your research online. Get as much data as you can. Look into some of the marketplace, kind of get an idea what rates are doing. And once you get that research, once you get that information, again, I would advocate that you be careful and choose someone that you trust. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting information to compare with people you trust, but be careful with that and watch out for the red flags with that, because a lot of stuff that you get online and via email is they have not looked at any of your personal information yet. I'll say this over and over again, and I'm making fun, and you hear me make fun of it, but seriously, when I say Rocket Mortgage and Jet Mortgage and all these marketing gurus that try to make it look like you're going to get something done in 5 minutes and you're going to be sitting on the beach sipping a lemonade, that's nonsense. It's nonsense. They could market all they want. I'm in this business. Anybody could get approved in 5 minutes if you enter the information in there. Have you ever heard the term data in, data out? Like whatever you enter in is going to be accurate or not? Here's my point. When a lender asks you to enter your information, how much you make? I make this. What's your credit score? This is my credit score. How much money do you have? This is how much money I have. Guess what? The computer is just believing what you're telling it. So when these guys say I could get you approved in 5 minutes, anybody could get approved in 5 minutes, but is it valid? Is it authentic? Is it real? A lot of times it's not. So be careful with the misleading marketing when it comes to that information. Now, some will go a lot further, and you'll enter your Social Security number, right? And they'll actually access work information where they can verify this happens. You could verify work information, how much someone makes. We could get that information really quickly these days on almost any employer. That is true. And you enter your Social Security number, we could pull your credit report right away and get an idea of that. All those things are true, right? But then you have to verify funds. If you're buying a house, and if you say you have $200,000 in a certain account, those have to be verified. And I'll take it a step further. Let's say you say, Joe, I do have $200,000 in an account. So my next question would be, where did it come from? Oh, well, $100,000 was from me, and $100,000 was from my Aunt Betsy in New Orleans. Well, so can you source that? Can you prove? Do you know where that? I mean, can we paper trail that? Can we identify that money did come from her? Well, yeah, I think so, but she gave it to me a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know that I needed that information. These are the kinds of things that come up. And this is the type of stuff that I don't mean to alarm, but this is the education piece. So don't let someone don't let a website or some of these other these convince you that you're going to be able to enter 5 or 6 bits of information and you're going to get approved and your loan's going to close in 24 hours. It doesn't work that way. Matter of fact, the easiest part of lending is the initial approval. It's the easiest part of lending. The reason why is because we're entering specific data, we're doing a cursory review over it, and it's simple. The most difficult part is when everything's in front of an underwriter, and now they have to start looking through it with a fine-tooth comb. That is when it gets difficult. So these are the things that I don't mean to alarm you, but more to educate you to stay away from and be careful when someone's misleading you and telling you that they could get these things done in a period of time or even promise you when you don't know. All right, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, I'm going to finish up on the lending side, who you can and cannot trust when doing online real estate and lending. 1-800-516-1220. I'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining me this afternoon. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. As we wind down the show, this is our last segment. We have about 7 minutes to go. Thank you for tuning in, spending some time. There's a couple texts here I'm going to read here in just a second. If I don't get to the text, please know that it's not. I will eventually, but sometimes it's tough to get through the show and get through our topics. So just a couple minutes left. If you want to call in, 1-800-516-1220, or if you want to text 408-838-9060. Let me just answer the text real quick, and I'll get back to finishing up on the topic today is who to trust, understanding who and what to trust when it comes to online real estate and lending. So the first text real quickly is asking, good topic, it is hard to know who to trust on the real estate side. What would you recommend, what process to go through? Well, so there's a couple more. So let me just answer that quickly for the text, and looks like it's Sam. So the text is who to trust, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. And you don't know who to trust. That's the sad part. It's just a reality, though, in really any type of business. So do your education. What I would say, again, do your education online, your research online, data collection. And if you're not sure, give me a call, seriously, and I mean that. I have real estate agents, financial planners, we could handle those things here. Every aspect of real estate, we have people that could help you. We have a network here, and we'll continue to do that. If you don't know, the other option is go to someone you trust, maybe a family member, coworker, friend, and ask them, hey, who would you recommend? And the thing to be careful about, too, is, it depends what area, what location, all those kinds of things, and you don't know who you're getting. And so just be very careful for that. All right, real quickly, not the last, but the other text, and there's a third one, but I'm not sure if I can get to this one. It's a little more detailed on tax question. The next question is Mike, looks like in Fremont, that investment, has some questions on investment. Can you put, what's the minimum down? So that will depend, Mike. The minimum typically is 20%, depending on where you're buying and the loan amount. Normally it's 25%, but you can go as low as 20% on investment property to different types. Let's say it's a single-family home. As a rule, you can put 20% down, but what happens is the interest rate's a little higher. So 25 is kind of the typical for down payment on investment property, but I've seen it as little as 20, but just know that the rates are going to be higher, and it really a lot depends on the loan amount. All right, I'll get to that text later. Let me get through. I'm going to finish up on who to trust, understanding who to trust when it comes to online real estate and lending. So we're on the lending side. The thing to be careful about, I talked about, don't be misled by all these get approved in 5 seconds and get your place closed in 24 hours and all that nonsense. This is just a bunch of marketing, a mess. Misleading advertising. Now, I'm not suggesting that some of these things online could help process the system. In my opinion, where technology has advanced on the lending side is there's no doubt that if you're a lender and we're one of them making the best use of technology, here's how it should be working. Here's how it should be improving. You should be able to start it online. You could go online, fill out an application. That would automatically get populated, for instance, in my system. So you could go on my website. You could spend 5 minutes and fill out basic information. That would automatically notify me, populate in information, so you wouldn't have to call me again and start over. That file would already be created. That's how to best use technology. The next thing how to best use technology is how you get your documents securely uploaded to. So we as a lender have the ability to upload documents securely in a system securely. So you could do that, and you could just grab your documents, upload them, send them to us directly. Those documents automatically get loaded into the file. And so what that means is we're using technology the best we can to accept your documents electronically, load them in the file so we don't have to print them out and then scan them and put them in the file. They automatically get put in there. So that's how we should be using technology. The other way we should be using technology is communicating you with the process. Before, in times past, if you're working with a lender that doesn't keep you updated either by text or emails, there's a problem. We have a system in place. The minute you get your file in place, you get an email notifying you, hey, thanks, your file's in processing. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, good luck, or congratulations, your file's been approved. Hey, great. Guess what? Your appraisal's been ordered. Guess what? Your appraisal's back in. Guess what? We have final approval. Guess what? Your loans are out to docs. Guess what? Your loan just funded. Guess what? Your loan recorded. We have those. If you're a lender, that's the kind of technology you should be using. But for anybody, before I close out today, don't be misled, especially on jumbo side. You're just not, the likelihood of you getting honest information online, especially with jumbo information, is very remote, and I can tell you it's going to be tough. It just is. The reason why is no one in their right mind or their legal with any kind of ethics at all is going to quote you something when they haven't seen your personal information yet. Anybody that quotes you something, especially if it's jumbo, that hasn't seen your credit score or your finances or how much you make and how much you're putting down and where that money's coming from, I'm telling you, it's misleading and it's not right. Be careful with that. They're going to tell you what they want to hear to try to get you hooked, and then they're going to try to get you in, and then when they get you in, they're going to spend some time. This is the way it goes, and then it's going to change. The numbers are going to change. I'm telling you, it just will, because no one could give you an offer or any kind of information unless they have that in front of them. Okay, I have to go. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Be sure to tune in Monday through Friday, KDOW 1220 a.m. Until tomorrow, have a great afternoon and take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.